Hi there, Techians. On the previous video, we were able to make a script wherein the player can now move from left to right, right to left, vice versa, and it will be clamped at a certain position so that it will not exceed on the screen or it will not move beyond the screen. So for this video, we will now be instantiating the letters wherein in the preview of our game we have their letters falling at a random position, and this player will catch the correct letter based on this reference letter that is at the top of the book or on the top of the book. Anyway, on or at, I don't know. Anyway, and we're gonna add collision or trigger function to the letter so that whenever it touches the catcher or the catcher catches the letter, it will be destroyed or it will be disabled in the game. So let's have first the instantiating or the spawning of the random letters at a random position. So to do that, we're gonna head over to our scripts and create C# script name letter letters spawn. Okay, and let the game engine compile it. Don't touch anything, don't click anything, or you just or you might make a bug in it. Anyway, compiling. Next, we're gonna make an empty object wherein that will be the reference or the reference position of the letters where it will fall at where it will fall randomly. So let's head over here to the hierarchy class, create empty, and hit this button here, and we're just gonna move it here 5.9 or 5 negative 5.7, and we're gonna rename this game object as letter spawn letter spawner. And in this empty game object, we are going to attach the script that we letter spawn, and open this in the Visual Studio. So here we're not going to use the update event function, so we can delete it now. We're not gonna use it. Instead, we're gonna use the invoke repeat, if you can still remember in our scripting basics videos. So first, we're gonna declare a reference point or reference position wherein the game objects or the letters will spawn. So let's make it public transform and letters spawn, and then we're gonna make an array since we're gonna spawn 3 letters in this level. So we just want to store it in a single variable, so multiple objects in a single variable. We call that array. Let's make it also public so that it will be easy for us to put the object in the inspector panel. Game object, and this one, oops, not 0. I don't want to put 0, and letters since we're gonna spawn letters, and we're gonna declare a maximum position wherein the letters are within that range, depending let's say within this kind of range or this range, in this area, this will be the only spot where the letters will be spawned randomly. So we're gonna declare public float min pos x since it is in the x-axis, and comma max pos x. Okay, and we're gonna make a function void. We don't need any return type to it or return value. Void letter fall, and then in order for you to instantiate randomly, we're gonna use the function random.range, and random.range returns a value or a data type integer. So we're gonna write int and the name of the variable random. Let's say we're gonna spawn random letter is equal to random dot range from 0 to this range function here. It stores a value of a minimum, or from what point up until what point, or minimum or maximum point. So yeah, float minimum inclusive and float maximum inclusive. Since we're gonna spawn random letter, so from 0 value to the letter or the value of the letters that we will be spawning. So to do that, 0 letters dot length. So we're making it generic since we haven't yet declared on how many value that we're going to spawn or we're going to store in the game object array letters. And then we're gonna store also a random position. So when we say position, or here in the axis, this one stores a value of an integer type of variable. So we're gonna make float random pos is equal to is equal to random dot range, and then we're gonna use here the declared variable min pos x and the max pos x. So we have here float minimum inclusive, so min pos x and max pos x. Okay. Now we have declared the integer type of variable wherein we can spawn random letter, and a float type variable wherein we can spawn letters at a random pos. So this is just the declaration of the variables inside here, inside this function. We're gonna use now another vector3 type variable wherein we're gonna use it in the instantiate. So first, let's write the instantiate function for you not to be confused. So instantiate. Then in the instantiate we have the object original, which is the game object array letters, vector3 position, where the letter will be spawned or instantiated, and that rotation type. Since we're not gonna use any rotation, so quaternion dot identity. So let's have letters, and since this is an array, we're gonna put this symbol, and inside this letters we're gonna spawn randomly, and this bad boy, this variable, is the one that we're going to insert here, since we stored the value of random.range within the letters, or the value of letters that we're going to spawn in the letters array. So we're gonna write here random letter, we're instantiating letters, a letters array, and that letters array will be instantiated randomly. So that's why we stored it in a integer type variable random letter. And next, instantiate the position, and here we're gonna make again a vector3 type of variable. So vector3 say random vector pos is equal to new vector 3, and since we're just gonna spawn it this way, or in this axis, x-axis, we're just gonna store the random, or we're just gonna use the variable wherein we store the random position at the x value. So here the x, y, z. So we're gonna replace the 0 here, the x, random pos and transform that position dot y and transform that position dot z. Since whatever the position of this letter spawner, we should in the y and the z value, we're just gonna stay it as is, because if not, it will randomly spawn at the x variable at a random y and z position, and we don't want that. So here we're gonna fill in the position, or the this one, vector 3 position. So this is the vector 3 position that we're gonna use. Random vector pos to v and quaternion dot identity. So hit Ctrl S, and yet we're still missing the invoke repeating, since we're gonna call this repeatedly once the game starts. So invoke repeating, oops, repeating, R should be uppercase, open close parenthesis, string value, letter fall, the name of the function, and then I'm going to instantiate it at 1f and a repeat rate of 2f. You can modify this depending on your preference, as I've always said. So hit Ctrl S. So this is the script or the code for the letter spawn. Let's head back to Unity, and it's still compiling. And here in the letter spawner, we're gonna fill in the variables that we have just declared. So for the transform, the position or the reference position is this letter spawner. So I can just drag this transform here, or this game object here. It's just the same. And then the letters, we need 3, and here, so element 0, 1, 2, and the mean pose or the minimum position, so negative 5.7 currently, and if we make this positive, and there you go. So this range to this range, negative 5.7, the letters will be randomly spawned in that axis. So we're just gonna write negative 5.7, since when we write negative 5.7, it will be here, and positive 5.7. It will be when we remove the negative value. Okay, and then we're gonna make before we fill in with this these letters array, we have first to make a prefab or prefabricated copy of these sprites in the level 1 folder. So then assets, and head over to sprites level 1. So we have there, I already renamed it based on its letter. So this is letter A, letter M, letter S. So as far as I can know, on the downloaded files or resources that you have there in your PC, on the shared or on the link that I shared on the previous videos, this still names as slide 1, slide 0. So you just rename it based on the letter. So we're just gonna grab this on the hierarchy, letter S, and set the sorting layer to letter M, letter also, and letter A, letter, and let's hit this all. Next, we're gonna resize this letter. We will not be showing this letter as big as this, so we're gonna resize them all. So in the X value, I want it 0.28, and the Y value, I want it to be 0.3. Let's say this is 0.25. I guess that fits, and that will fit in our catcher. 0.25 and 0.3. But still, it depends on you on however you want to resize it. Next, we're gonna yeah, let's click the letter M and let's tag it to right letter, and then letter S and letter A, we're gonna add another tag since they are the wrong letter, so wrong letter. So letter S and letter A, we're gonna tag it as wrong letter. Then we're gonna add the collider, box collider, and since we are making a 2D platform game, we're gonna select box collider and select is trigger. I don't want any collisions to it. And add component. We need to add physics component to it, rigid, or you can just type physics. Let's go to physics and rigid body. Oh, not rigid body. Let's just type rigid body 2D. So rigid body 2D will enable the game objects to have a physics component, specifically here the mass, linear drag, and the gravity. So we need here to change the value of mass. Let's make it even more lighter, 0.5, and a gravity scale of 0.1. I want the gravity force not to be as strong as 1, and so let's make a value 0.1 or 0.10. Then we're gonna add a script to it so that whenever it collides with the player 1, the tag here we have with the tag player 1, it will be destroyed. So let's select letter S, letter M, letter A again. Not that. That's not how we organize our script. Head to our script, select create, I right click and create C# script letter collide, and let it compile. Okay, there we have it, compiling. And let's select the 3 letters. And let's drag the, not the letter spawn, letter collide. So make sure that all of the letters has the letter collide script, S, M, A. And we're gonna open this bad boy in the Visual Studio. So we don't need the start and the update function. What we only need is the void on trigger enter 2D. And I want to change the reference or the parameter collision to call. So let's write the if function or if statement. If call, or this, the parameter of this game object, call that game object collides with an object with a tag is equal to player 1. This is the name. We're gonna make it a string value, so we should enclose it with quotation marks. Destroy game object, meaning when it collides with the game object with the tag player 1, this game object where this script is attached to will be destroyed. Not destroy call that game object, because when you do that, the catcher will be destroyed instead of this object. And whenever this happens, especially if the catcher catches the letter, we will increment. Well, anyway, let's not write that to avoid confusion. We'll have that later on once we have the UI. Okay, so If called game object tag, blah 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 blah, it will be this. It will destroy this game object when this condition is met. Hit Control S. Minimize this one. Okay, now that our configuration is done, we're gonna convert it into prefab. So let's head over to the assets and let's rename this folder prefab that we have used in our previous videos. So rename, I just want to rename this prefabs for level 1. So we're gonna make prefabs also for level 2 and prefabs for level 3. So open that, hit the configured letters, and let's drag them all in the prefabs folder. So whenever the game object changes its color, the name of the game object changes its color from white to blue, it means that it is prefabricated or it became a prefab. So we're not gonna this one. Let's just disable this. And let's head back to the letter spawner, and we will now be inputting the value of the letter array. So we're gonna drag this prefab, so you can drag it wherever index you want to drag it to. So let's see if our script works perfectly. Not perfectly, works correctly. Let's hope we won't be encountering any bugs here. Let's hope that it will spawn. Okay, there you have it. Letter A. That is not the correct letter. I'm catching that. Okay, it is destroyed. Whenever it collides with this game object, which is a tag player, that game object will be destroyed. And we attach that script in the letters here, the letters falling at a random position. So there you have it. You can adjust the gravity scale if you want it to be faster, or it falls faster. Unlike this one, it's too slow. Well, you have to consider first the learners, if they are fast learner or slow learner. A with this speed, I guess learners will be able to have time to recognize what letters are falling. So that's it, Techians, for this video. You have learned how to instantiate the letters at a random pose. So see ya in the next video.